Well, we will be recording this session for those who are interested in the topic but unable to join us in real time today. I am Laura Kirk and have a volunteer role on the board of the Academy of Communication and Healthcare, and I'm joined by some of my colleagues near and far, and we will introduce ourselves as well. I will hand it off formally at this time to Rukia with her expertise in our topic today, and she will get us started.
Good morning and welcome to Coffee Conversations. This is an interactive discussion series hosted by the Academy of Communication and Healthcare. Hi, my name is Rukia Wangas, as Laura said, and I'm a Senior Director for ACH, and I also have the privilege of managing our Relationship-Centered Communication Facilitators program. Today, we are joined by our featured guests, Laura Kirk and Jaime Harry. And so the Academy of Communication and Healthcare is a nonprofit academic community to support education and research communication and relationships in healthcare. Again, the topic for today's conversation is the Relationship-Centered Communication Facilitators Program. And unlike a webinar, these sessions are going to be more like conversations. So there's information that will be shared with you, but also an opportunity for interaction and Q&A. And with that, we will encourage you to mute your audio as we share the information. And when invited, please do unmute or share your questions in the chat. With that, I will turn it back over to Laura and Jaime. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rukia. So people have already been saying hello and their geography, and I would invite that to continue, and I will join you as well. So I would invite you to put your name, your geographic location. I'll put this into the chat as well. And also, finally, what you're hoping to learn today from this coffee conversation. As Rukia forecasted, we are going to do a little bit different of a format for those of you who may have joined us before. And I will be sharing some content on slides and interacting with Jaime Harry, who I have the honor of getting to work with in many regards at UT Southwestern, where we join many of you from Texas and the North Texas area in Dallas. So Jaime, would you like to introduce yourself and then we can get started?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So I am Jaime. I'm actually an RCC alumni. I work at UT Southwestern full-time as a psychotherapist and health and wellness coach. And I came through the RCC ACH through a program called Enrich, which we'll get to later. And I was invited through to that program by Laura Kirk, who, again, we have a great relationship outside of RCC and inside of RCC. So that is kind of a little background about me. And I am from Dallas. So hello to my Dallas people. I see a couple of familiar faces. So yeah, Laura.
Thanks, Jaime. And Kelsey, would you like to say hello? Kelsey's one of our staff who keeps all things running behind the scenes.
Sure, thanks, Laura. My name is Kelsey Kirsch. I am a staff member with ACH, and I'm here today to assist with any tech needs that may come up. So feel free to message me in the chat if you need any assistance. And you'll also be getting a follow-up email from me after our session as well. And I'm based in Dayton, Ohio.
Thank you, Kelsey. So again, welcome. I'm Laura, and I'm a PA by training. I was in the first cohort ever of the Relationship-Centered Communication Facilitator Training Program in 2015, long before the pandemic ended up changing the format and the way that we offer this training. I'm in Dallas at UT Southwestern, and I really am looking forward to learning your goals and how we can meet them during this session and beyond. So please continue to say hello and put into the chat what you were hoping to learn about this facilitator training program. And with that, I will share my screen and rely on some help from my colleagues as I both do that and monitor the chat. So we'd like to talk about the Train the Trainer program that is open enrollment or a relationship-centered communication facilitator training program, or RCF. RCC stands for Relationship-Centered Communication, RCF for the Facilitator Training Program. So we have a few goals in the program which may align with some of the goals that you bring professionally and or to learning during this session. And those are professional advancement and personal advancement, expertise being deepened, widening and deepening community, and then mentorship. And so the end point of the RCF program is qualifying participants to facilitate our foundational RCC workshop at the home institution or organization that you are housed in. And Jamie and I are going to interact a bit about each of these topics. Advancement, I would say that prior facilitators, those going through the training program, myself included, have found that the opportunities that they experience as they learn and grow during the curriculum end up opening up opportunities locally or beyond. My own journey was early in my leadership as a PA at a different academic medical center. And I found that it really, the facilitator training changed my leadership style, changed how I especially handle feedback with learners and with colleagues. Part of the facilitation training is feedback. And so it's really changed me as a leader and advanced my, my skills in that domain. Jaime, would love to hear about your journey and how the RCF program has advanced you professionally.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. I would say, in addition to what you stated, as a social worker, we are equipped with tools on how to communicate and how to facilitate conversations. But I really believe that the RCF, the training, broadened how I even thought about or entered conversations, from the small setup to entering a room or preparing for a conversation, or I guess being aware of all the moving pieces that happens when you are in a relationship with a patient and or a colleague. I think that is what opened up for me, and it really surprised me as to what I thought I knew, and I realized I didn't. And so it just really broadened what the foundation that I already set for myself, and just gave me a deeper understanding of why it's important and how far communication can grow and go. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I think, you and I both were participants in the workshop before going through the training to facilitate, and just taking it a deeper level really helps it sink into my DNA as a human, as a healthcare provider, and as a colleague. So that expertise of taking the skills that you've learned and applied in an RCC foundational workshop as a participant, and then gaining the competency to facilitate the learning for not just individuals who are present in the workshop, but for moving a group effectively, for reading the needs of the group, integrating those, and tracking that in a small group learning environment, both with larger didactic sessions and then with especially the small group skills practice. It's nuanced, and it takes some training to get there. Jaime, what would you add about that deepened expertise around both group and individual facilitation and learning goals?
Oh, Laura, I think you stated it.
I will say it's been an honor, Jaime, and to learn alongside you and from you, and to support your journey in completing the RCF program, and now to serve as co-facilitators together for the workshop. And that's a taste of community. So this open enrollment version of becoming a facilitator, as opposed to an in-house or organizationally trained group of facilitators all at the same time, or an in-house train the trainer, this open enrollment opportunity really gives such an immense community for internationally. We've had participants in this RCF training program from, in the same cohort, the Philippines, Iran, and India, as well as the continental US, and across all the time zones, this commitment to learning and growing, supporting each other's learning goals as they train to facilitate. And that network continues to expand. So the trainers of the facilitator program invest in all of the participants and mentor them, and then help build and broaden that community and support. Jaime, I know you went through a cohort that had some geographical and professional diversity. What would you add about how that's been a part of your experience of the community of ACH?
I would add just to learn how different various places show up in communication, right? We had just different backgrounds in career and professional careers and the geographic as well as the settings that they practice in. So it was cool to learn how they operate in their spaces and the skills that they wanted to take back. And again, having a therapeutic background, it was cool to see how our relationship centered communication shows up in different places within the healthcare system. And it was just cool to hear how other people think, how other people navigated conversations and communications and what their thoughts were on it. So, which I think, like you stated, you have people from all over the world and even on this call that are able to provide different perspectives. And I think that is what communication is about, being open to perspectives and learning from other people to enhance the relationship.
Yeah, great. And then mentorship is one of those final pillars of what competencies and growth we anticipate from participants. So faculty from the ACH who are trained specifically in training and developing facilitators provide personalized mentoring throughout the training and make sure that each facilitator trainee receives the support individualized to where their strengths are, how those are honed, and where their opportunities are. We each come with facilitative strengths and ways that we can be sharpened or softened. Jaime, what would you add about the mentorship you received from the trainers and anything about that process for you?
I would say that it's ongoing. I look at Laura as a mentor as I make my way as now a facilitator through the RCC, and now as a facilitator, you always have someone with you, right? Their biggest goal is to make sure that you are equipped with the skills and the tools to effectively facilitate these workshops. And I felt that I had that throughout and throughout the training. And still to this day, I have connections and relationships with individuals in RCC who I can always call and say, hey, this came up in a workshop. What are your thoughts on this? Or how did you navigate or facilitate this conversation in your respected areas? And so I think mentorship is forever going. I don't think it stops as you once you complete the training. I think it's always there. For me, at least, I know it's always there.
I could not agree more, Jaime. I learned from you yesterday included as we facilitated a different kind of communication session, and I continue to learn from people who have served as mentors to me across the years in ACH.
And I would say, Laura, to add, bringing up that these skills can be deployed in other areas. That is something that I did learn when we think of the advancement and expertise. It's not just what you're learning in this training program. You are able to apply these skills in different areas. And as you learn them, you will look and see, oh my goodness, that was an RCC skill. Or, oh my goodness, how can I tweak what I know to fit this need or the agenda of other programs? So I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, absolutely. The application is endless. And I think the final frontier as a parent of teenagers is often at home. So how to enter the program? It's great to hear that so many of you being interested in learning more and figuring out funding and understanding how the curriculum may apply. So let's start with the pathway to entry. So having attended any ACH learning experience is the requirement or the prerequisite for entering into the RCC Facilitator Training Program, or RCF. And so that could include having attended the RCC workshop in any location, like at your own home organization or at Enrich, which is the annual ACH CME meeting. This just happened in Atlanta about a month ago. Also, the International Conference on Communication and Healthcare, ICCH, has offered the RCC workshop. So any ACH learning experience gives you context for what you are hoping to train into. And right now that is the prerequisite. Once you have applied to the RCF program and completed all the criteria, been certified, then you can deliver the RCC workshop at your home institution, the one that sponsored you to go through the training. And after that, it opens up a pathway or a door to being able to enter into the faculty in training, or FIT, what we sometimes call the FIT program, to become ACH faculty. And some people enter the RCF program specifically because they wish to become ACH faculty. That was my journey. I was invited at my prior academic health system to become a facilitator, to add to an existing small cohort of facilitators. So I went through the RCF program and was joining a cohort of facilitators, many of whom were already in the faculty and training program. And I found the curriculum and the learnings that they were sharing with me and the mentorship they were receiving to be very compelling. So while I was doing the RCF training program, began soliciting sponsorship and working on getting protected time to do the ballpark year faculty and training program. That does have additional goals of deepening opportunities to facilitate workshops outside of your home institution, and honestly, just deepening the skills and application of RCC to higher intensity environments like feedback and teaching, conflict, high functioning teams, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and coaching for communication. So I'll pause there. And Jaime, you've shared a little bit of your journey, and I was grateful to meet you, find a kindred spirit, and to help support your journey. What would you add about your journey and how it intersects with this pathway here?
So like I stated earlier, I was introduced through ACH. I came in through the Enrich program, and that just, if you all cannot, right, I know going through RCF, trying to become a facilitator, if you have any questions, go to Enrich. I think we'll probably drop the next date for that in here, but Enrich literally changed my life. And as it just opened up one relationships, I just got someone's on this call that I really bonded with there. And it just, you are in a room with like-minded individuals talking about, like Laura said, DEI, communication, how we show up as individuals, intersectionalities, like everything at Enrich. And I left so fulfilled and empowered to come back and deploy just the mindset, the shift probably in my mindset of how people who do not look like me or have the same lived experiences as I do are still, I guess, have the same goals as I do as just a human being. That's what I left Enrich with. So that was my first, just like, oh my gosh, I have to dive deeper and I have to figure out ways to extend what I took from Enrich to, I guess, just advance where I am, or advance my knowledge on everything I learned at Enrich. But I do hope to be, I have not gone through the FIT program. However, that is something I aspire to do. Now that I have completed the RCF, but I will say, once you complete Enrich or other ACH programs, you will just, I don't know, you have a fire. For me, I had a fire burning in me that wanted to continue what I learned and continue the relationships that I had made, to just continue to foster those skills within the communities that I serve. And so Enrich was the turning point for me. So I was really thankful for the opportunity. And they do have scholarships that I was a scholarship recipient. So I do thank ACH for that opportunity and for the scholarship for the RCF.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that we've been able to sponsor scholars and intentionally bring in diverse experiences, professional backgrounds, and identities to enrich our organization. And you've definitely been doing that, Jaime, alongside others. And so I think, what Jamie and I have shared is the support, individualized support we've received, whether it's at an ACH meeting like Enrich or in an RCC workshop. And we would say as an organization and as a team that supports this program that we're here with you every step of the way. It's been my experience and what I certainly hope everyone would say of this journey. And so the first step would be to make sure that you are an ACH member. It is, in addition to having attended any ACH type event, one of the prerequisites to apply. And then complete the application, which is open now. We will make sure you have the link in the chat to go to that. We'll discuss in detail what the curriculum is in just a moment, but in brief, it is 6 days of training sessions. Those are all online, and 2 pilot workshops, which you would coordinate and could be done online or in person. And then once you and the faculty member with whom you are working have noted that all competencies have been met, certification. Then certification maintenance, so making sure that your skills stay relevant and sharp. That would include keeping an ACH membership, participating in an education event through an ACH, and there are numerous opportunities online or in person, Enrich being one of the in-person opportunities, and then facilitating on a regular basis to maintain that comfort and competency. Finally, the opportunity, as Jamie and I described, to advance skills through the faculty and training program. And we hope to grow the opportunities beyond simply the faculty and training program to enhance skills for those who have done the certification to facilitate the core workshop. I'll pause and see if there are questions in the chat based on what we're sharing so far. And looking at some questions that we can certainly drill back down on. Okay. I'm going to give you a little more detail about the program and the curriculum that it contains. So it is 8 full days of training, 6 of which are done synchronously within the cohort. And we have the dates for each of these that we will share with you in a moment. The first day is re-experiencing that core RCC workshop, but with the lens of becoming a facilitator and watching the group dynamics, the facilitator's skills as a participant. The second day is an introduction into adult learning theory and the rationale and evidence behind the curriculum, and beginning to try out some facilitation skills. Day 3 is looking at skill set 2 and practicing facilitating that. Day 4, skill set 3, practicing facilitating. Day 5, deepening facilitation skills, particularly with challenging learning environments. And then day 6 is practicing facilitation in the final round to get ready for pilot workshops. Day 7 and 8, like I said, can be coordinated locally and could be online or could be in person. And those would have decreasing support and observation to review and debrief the competencies which are being demonstrated. And so over that arc of training, you would learn implementation of the RCC curriculum and strategy for rolling it out at your institution, workshop design, effective and supportive feedback, a learning plan design for participants in the workshops that you would lead, large and small group facilitation strategies, and then practicing facilitation of role plays. I'm going to pause and see, Jaime, what would you add about this journey for yourself and what you feel like it would be important for people who are considering embarking on this training to know?
I was trying to read through the chat box, and there were questions there, some of which I just needed more elaboration on. However, to answer your question, one thing that I would say if you are thinking about this workshop, it is a full 8 days. And for me, it felt longer, and I kept on, I continuously asked our ACH staff, how long was that? Because it is a lot. However, every skill, every session, every day is important to the skills that you take away, right? And how you will, all the things that you will learn, like Laura stated, each day is needed. It is a commitment. I realize it's a commitment to your colleagues or your cohort, showing up every day prepared and ready to engage and learn and communicate is key. The workshop days that you're doing are not moments where you can sit and do something else or work on another project. You are fully engaged, and you have to be committed to working throughout the day, and that is really how the workshop goes too. The RCC workshop, when you're training, is so interactive. It is, there's really no downtime to do anything else. You're fully immersed into what you're learning, and you're showing up for your cohort, because y'all are all learning from each other. No one is the expert in the room. Everyone is learning from each other and gaining those skills, and learning those skills. So if you struggle with, I guess, sitting through a whole day or having competing priorities, before you sign up for this program, I would encourage you to look at those competing priorities and see if you are able to dedicate full days, because it really is a full day. Obviously you have breaks. However, y'all are on different time zones. So the time that you are on may be 2 hours behind, or ahead of your usual start date. That is something to think about as well. So if you're not an early morning person like me, like, what does that look like? However, at the end of it all pays off, and you'll be so grateful that you completed the workshop. I did see a question, Laura, that stated, of course, now I can't think of what it stated. Where was that question? Someone had asked, I don't know if, Laura, you already answered it and I can't find it anymore, but someone asked a question and now it's escaping my memory, but if it comes back, I'll answer it.
No worries. I think that your insights, Jaime, are so important, because it really is an investment in that community of co-trainees and learning from each other. And I absolutely found that people had skills and strategies I needed to learn from, and vice versa. And so being able to show up fully present and devoted to that time is essential, and it's a commitment. We want to make sure that the financial investment and the time investment is worth your while. So it is very high quality and individualized training. We want to make sure you know the details, including the time commitment. So I'll get there over the next couple of slides. As we mentioned, the portal is already open online to apply. We forecasted some of the things that you would need to submit. So a list of prior ACH learning experiences, or just one that you've attended, and being able to talk about the impact those have had. You can intersect that with a short professional bio, and especially a narrative of your vision and strategy for rolling out the relationship-centered communication workshop at your institution over the following 1 to 2 years. We'd like to see a description of leadership engagement and support, both personally, professionally, financially, and the resources at your organization that would ensure that you could be a successful participant in the program. And then you would apply online. And so we've got the link dropped into the chat as well as on this slide for you.
And Laura, while you're here, I remember the question. Someone stated, how can you deploy these skills or apply these skills in various areas of your work? Just an example, I am, like I said, a therapist. So I have used these skills one-on-one with my clients when they have questions on how can I communicate with my colleague on a personal level, when we talk about that mentorship interaction or receiving feedback. Or I'm going to have I need to have a really hard conversation. How do I, what skills can I use? RCC through and through. So they literally show up everywhere. not just in a workshop setting. You can use it at home. If you need support communicating across those type of relationships. So you can use it. And if you want to drop in the chat and see if these skills are applicable to a specific space that you are interested in, we can answer that.
Thanks, Jamie. Keep the questions coming. The questions in the chat are great. So here's the schedule for our next cohort, the one for which the applications are currently open. We are attempting to cluster the training so that things that you're learning stay fresh. And so Monday, August 5th and Tuesday, August 6th are that first re-experience of the workshop with the lens of training to facilitate it yourself. And then the 6th would be that introduction, adult learning theory, developing initial facilitation skills. Those are both on Zoom online, and you can see the times in Eastern zone that are listed. So 11 to 5, that is the majority of the workday, but depending on your time zone, it may shift earlier or later. Then we have the day 3 of training, August 19th, day 4, September 3rd, day 5, September 16th, and then the final day, dress rehearsal and honing final skills, October 6th. We would like for you to do your pilot workshops too, that you would schedule online or in person soon after that, by the end of the calendar year, so the skills are fresh and so that your faculty trainers are ready to support you. And then the investment, and this is what a lot of people have concerns about, and I am right there with you. It takes often a village and creativity to get the protected time and the institutional support and finances in line in order to participate. And so the tuition is $9,500, which does not include ACH membership. And we do offer one partial half scholarship this round. We are prioritizing individuals with backgrounds that have historically been underrepresented in healthcare, and including allied health professionals, and especially those who have an interest in advancing equity and inclusion through the use of RCC skills and through the facilitation of those skills. And so we would want to see a description of that in the scholarship application. The scholarship application and the program application, good news, are one and the same link, and you can complete all of that in one sitting. So would love to help people think creatively about how to secure that funding. And I think it may help to hear Jamie and my personal experiences, and we can also share what others have done. For me, I was joining an intact facilitator team as an addition, intentionally to diversify the professional backgrounds of that team. And both the Center for Communication at my academic institution and my own clinical department were willing to contribute the protected time for me and portions of the funding. I also had a professional development budget, or a CME budget, as a PA at my institution, and so that contributed the final portion of my the cost of my training. And I would say that's not unusual, that individuals are looking at a couple of different areas to secure the funding from their home institution. We've also seen people successfully have their entire funding done through a grant. And so that's another possibility, that could also be partial funding through a grant. And then I mentioned the scholarship. We sometimes have varying amounts that we're able, and numbers of individuals that we're able to recognize as a scholar that will contribute to diversity of facilitators. And I'll hand off to Jamie. Would love for you to share your journey in the funding.
Well, one, it was I fall into the underrepresented in healthcare group, so I was able to apply for the scholarship. So I will encourage anyone who falls within that in either group to apply for the scholarship. Also, finding allyship on your campus or within your organization to people whose vision is aligned with the mission of ACH and RCC. Bring that and present that to them so they can, and then bring ways that you will deploy that and advance the organization with these skills that you have. I would say that is key to get that buy-in. And then if someone at your organization is already doing the work, maybe they have financial means within their department that can assist in paying for some of the tuition for the RCF. So I would say look into those areas. So look for allyship, look for buy-in, really go deep and see where your organization wants to go. And if you can present these skills to those people that present that and state, like, this is what I'm wanting to do. This is how this will advance us as an organization and our employees and benefit them, and see if they can provide or pool. I would say there's typically funds in places that you do not think about. So I'm looking to that, and then come with the thoughts or how you wish to utilize these skills and advance equity and inclusion if you can at your organization.
Yeah. Jaime, I'm thinking about your journey, and you're housed within the Office of Faculty Wellness, and it was clear to you, having been at Enrich, how much these skills help with well-being as individuals and collectively within teams. And it wasn't hard, in my recollection, for us, you and I, to through the Associate Dean of Faculty Wellness, who leads your team, to show the benefit to faculty support and to your own professional development. And so a willingness to have full funding there was a bonus, and that's continued to be a source of support in many ways, both sponsorship and financial sponsorship. I'm thinking about other areas of buy-in that I've seen. So we've seen it from quality and safety, because of the outcomes of improved communication leading to improved quality patient experience and safer outcomes. We've seen buy-in from professional development of faculty or otherwise. We've seen it specifically in officer leaders of patient experience. We've seen it in ethics and reducing the number of egregious incident reports, and using higher functioning teams that communicate in real time to drive efficacy. And those are some examples that come to mind, and I'm sure that other people can think of others. Would love to hear collective wisdom in the chat there about sourcing funding. And we have some suggested talking points and a tip sheet for you as you attempt to secure funding at your home institution. Rukia, who introduced herself at the beginning of this session, really directs this program administratively and is an expert in the curriculum, and she would be happy to share that resource with you, as well as engage with specific questions you might have about the program, any particularities around your needs. We're here for you, and we want to understand. It actually helps, as we're in conversation with participants or prospective participants in the program, helps us understand as an organization how to meet those needs and really be as responsive as we want to model our participants and our facilitators being with their colleagues and their patients. Jaime, Rukia, what would either of you add to that?
Thanks, Laura. I really don't have much more to add, other than, as you said, I welcome any outreach that you might have, questions, and also any questions today that if anyone would like to bring forward that have not already been added to the chat.
So we are all watching the chat, and we welcome if you have a question that you feel that you put into the chat and wasn't fully addressed, or that you'd like to unmute. If you don't mind raising your hand, the digital hand raise in Zoom, that way we can move in a respectful fashion. We'd love to interact with you in real time through voice or the chat, so we'd welcome that.
And I too welcome any questions that you all might have that we did not see in the chat, or anything you wanted to elaborate on. I will say everyone's experience will be different. However, you may have seen that Jenna put in the chat as well that ACH changed her life and how she showed up. So I will say that's probably synonymous amongst a lot of people who have attended ACH, RCC, Enrich, any of the programs that ACH puts on. So if you're looking for that, you will definitely find it.
And there was an article published by one of our ACH faculty and staff member and trainer regarding their work at Yale. And the title is, for me, it was transformative, and I couldn't agree more. I'm appreciating, Ava, your question, and you would not be the only person who has gone through the facilitator training program to deepen their communication consulting toolbox. And I can think of two individuals right off the top of my head, and one primarily was a consultant for a large academic medical center and would deliver projects regularly and served as a communication coach, was one of their facilitators that they paid externally. And so I think there's many applications, whether it's consultative or embedded within an organization. And as far as applying, not having a sponsoring organization, like I said, we've had that circumstance, and we want to understand your current use of those kinds of skills and how you would foresee applying it, and then we could work on what the framework would be for delivery of the workshop, since we do frame this training as certifying you to deliver it for a specific location, but we can work out those details. What other questions are there? Yeah, Steve, good to see you. Please.
I just want to, when Jaime was explaining how she understood during the workshops different cultures or different situations, I wonder if she could give me some examples of that. Communication styles, perhaps, something that you wouldn't have realized before but are sensitive now from taking the program. Could you give me some examples of that?
That's a great question. An example, I'm thinking of Mimi and her group, but let me think about what. Excuse me if you hear anything in the background. My son is awake. I think working with I think there was a surgeon on the call, within my cohort, and he wanted to deploy these skills as a lead, or learn as a leader, how can he make a more cohesive group, or how he can bring change the culture within not only medicine but in his organization. So him learning, had never utilized these skills, never thought about that, and bringing these communication skills to his team to make for a better team, or changing the culture of that.
And I would say, would it be okay if I explain a little bit of Mimi's story?
Yes, you can, if that's okay.
Mimi is a colleague of ours in the Academy of Communication and Healthcare, Mimi Mateo. She is a midwife, professionally, still practices clinically, and is the Chief Wellness Officer for, as well as a Chief Diversity Officer for a large group of federally qualified health centers in her state. And so for her, you can certainly help flesh this out, Jaime, thinking about what it looks like to build a culture of wellness, equity, and inclusion through use of shared power, which we do by centering the learner's needs and eliciting their learning goals, which we do through using that core RCC skills with patients or colleagues. That shared partnership and that model of perspective seeking, responding with empathy, that model of delivering feedback and how we train facilitators to do that. Mimi is deployed across the organization to really change the culture around well-being for individuals and teams, and equity, inclusion, and belonging across all those FQHCs. So I don't know if that's precisely what you were thinking of when you mentioned Mimi, but I'll share part of her story there.
I think it was you, Laura, who mentioned it's nuanced. And I think you learned from engagement, because there are a lot of terms that you all use. And I remember Naomi Rachel Remen, who was giving a workshop on the West Coast, and someone asked her, I said, someone asked her, and I heard about this, what do you do when you sit down with a patient? What are the first words out of your mouth? And she said, oh, and so she sat down, she looked the person in the eye, and she said, so what's happening to you? That's where you have to be from my point of view, because it was all engaging. It was all recognition. It was empathy. It was compassion. It was everything built in. And that's what I think ultimately you have to get to understand equity and inclusion kinds of things, and to see people out there and look at their faces and to understand that they've all come from different places, but they all have one need. They want to be cared about, appreciated, and that's the beauty of what I think you're all doing to get to that point. That's what I think all of us want to get to look at someone, say, hi, what can I do for you today? Without going through, ultimately you have to throw away the cue cards, and to say, I go point A, point B, point 3, because it's not in the order that this situation demands. It's absolutely beautiful,
I think that's what you will see in your cohort. So that is like, for me as a person of color, these are things that I desire, right? For myself and other people entering the healthcare space, and knowing that I'm amongst people and we're learning from each other how to cultivate those spaces and create those spaces for individuals was really powerful, because we all came from different backgrounds. We all came from different places within our organizations and our professional spaces. So to see that and how it emerged, and even culturally, just geographically, how things are different in Texas and New York and, Colorado, it's just so different. So just even that cultural factor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I agree, Steve. Jenna?
Hi, Jamie, I thought I would just back you up since we both had the life-changing experience. So I'll add just a bit to what Steve was asking about. I have explained to folks about RCC changing my life because it really takes away the fear of asking what else. Coming from a safety net hospital where there's a lot underlying the so what's going on with you, by the time you've responded to the emotion and you've listed, actually sort of listed the concerns and you've heard and made the connection with them, you ask what else, and you hear back, nah, like, I'm good, that's it, let's go from there. And I think that's a culture shift for a lot of providers, where you go, oh gosh, they're going to open up this Pandora's box of things I can't control. So that's what I think has been really life-changing for me. I hope that's a helpful example.
Absolutely. Changing the culture of what it is that you're in. If it's the culture of medicine, or every place has a culture, right? And it's not necessarily culture as it relates to DEI, but it can relate to just the way you show up as providers, or what are you teaching the people that are coming behind you, or what did the people teach you before, ahead of you. Like changing that culture and how you show up at bedside, or how you show up to meetings, or, I know in our last session, we talked about hierarchical, culture within the system, and or gender, right? And just like little things that you don't think about when you're communicating. And you will learn that in RCC. So yes. And different parts of the world, because I think there are people, and even at my Enrich, there are people from all around the world, coming with different perspectives and how they see and how they engage in the human experience.
These are great questions and intersections, and with the values that I know I often encounter in ACH, and that keep me deeply investing in the organization and the people. What other questions are there about any of this? The core curriculum of RCC, the curriculum to train to be a facilitator. How can we support you? I am very excited to see many of you on this call who have been eager to apply to one of the cohorts of facilitator trainings, to support others in doing so, and to perpetuate these relationship-centered communication skills in your work and beyond. And please know that Jaime, Rukia, and I would be happy to continue to interact with you. We will make sure that all of you, no matter how long you've been able to participate in this discussion, receive the resources and links, and that we are there for you. So thank you, and we'll stick around if there are other questions. Feel free to drop off if you would like to have a quick break to attend to other things before the top of the hour.
Well,
And Laura, I don't know if we said this, but applications are open until July 8th. So we'll look forward to those of you who will be applying that, so receiving your application by then.
That is essential information. Thank you, Rukia.
Hey, I do have a quick question. So I'm joining on behalf of someone. My sister is the operations manager at Thrive Women's Clinic here in Dallas. And it would be like her and another manager in her office that would be interested in doing this. Do you allow more than one applicant for an organization, or it just has to be one?
I'm so glad you asked, and we can welcome more than one.
Okay.
We do have a minimum number of participants we need in order to run the program, and we have a maximum that we can accept. And so we would certainly consider the context. And if there were 4 applicants from one institution, we might try to help them prioritize and look at whether they could do their own in-house train the trainer. If we had 2 or 3, we'd look at that within the context of the broader applicant pool.
Okay. All right, I will let her know. Thank you so much.
Of course, Erica. Yes, and please, we're happy to interact with you and with your sister and colleague.
Awesome. Jaime invited me to this, so I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so glad that the local love is spreading.
Hey.
Can I say 2 more things, very brief comments? I've been at ACA Coffee Conversations for a number of years. I've attended most of them. And when we go into breakout sessions, the first thing I realize is I'm meeting some of the loveliest people in the world. That's number one. Conversations just flow. And the other advantage of taking a course like this would be to make peace for the world, because this is communication to find out what is really, really, really going on with someone besides their political views, where they really hurt, where they're vulnerable, and what's their story. And I think once we hear that, we can really begin to heal in many different ways. So these workshops are good for world peace too. You can add that to your list.
I would agree, Steve. And someone asked what is enrich, and I would say exactly what Steve stated. Laura and Rukia can expound, and Kelsey, but I think she stepped away. But I think you're just in alignment with people who have, who have the same goal and mission. How we're getting there may be a little different. How we came to our own lived experience is different. However, you are just able to have a human experience, a genuine human experience with other people, and grow just in areas you didn't even know you needed to, or knew that there was a growth space for it. But Laura can explain a little bit more what enrich is.
I'd be happy to. And
It's in Spain. Oh, that's ICC.
ACH is in Spain, so the International Conference on Communication and Healthcare alternates between being hosted by ACH somewhere in usually North America, and EACH, our European sister organization for communication. And so EACH is hosting ICCH in Spain in September. We will be providing an RCC in Espanol for those who speak that language, and anticipate enrich dates coming out soon. ICCH for North America in 2025, I believe is in October, and will likely include an RCC workshop as well. We have open enrollment RCC. I think that's important to note, and Rukia may have already dropped those opportunities into the chat. And so if in person at Enrich or ICCH is not an option, dialing in for a virtual open enrollment RCC online is a great opportunity. Enrich, I would love to talk about Enrich. We just came back from Enrich within the last few weeks. It is typically in the summer, May or June, and we were in Atlanta. It is 3.5 days of immersive communication skills practice and personal reflection around what we bring to communication as individuals. And that's facilitated in both large, medium, and small groups. I think learning groups, which are a continuity group that occurs throughout the entire course, meeting for 2 to 3 hours a day, and integrating the learnings from workshops and keynote speakers. It's one of the most powerful experiences for most of us. So it's a group of usually 10 or fewer people, facilitated by a faculty member and a faculty in training, trainee, and just ample opportunity to explore learning goals, explore your own personal awareness and reflections about communication, and to leave Enrich very deeply connected to your own progress and journey, as well as having supported others in that. So that's my experience over the years. What I know others on this Zoom have attended Enrich and would love to hear if that aligns or how that's different from your experience.
I'm in alignment with that. Do we know? Okay. Dates are forthcoming.
And Ava, I wish Enrich happened every other month. We are looking at ways that we could, for example, have regional similar conferences on the West and East Coast that are smaller. We are looking at ways to integrate more of Enrich type learning at ICCH and have combined meetings. So our organization is really looking at how we evolve and grow and meet existing needs. And some of those are examples of what we are exploring doing for 2025, which is part of why we don't have the dates yet for Enrich for the coming year.